She walks into the date expecting him to be grateful for her presence. She's already planning her free meal, her Instagram story, her humble brag to friends. Then something unexpected happens. He asks her to split the bill. He calls out her behaviour. He walks away mid-conversation. Suddenly her entire worldview crumbles. Let me tell you what happens when entitled women meet men who actually have standards, self-respect, and the balls to say no. The entitlement that creates dating tension is everywhere now. I see women posting videos complaining that their date didn't pay for parking, didn't order bottle service, didn't pick them up in a luxury car. They're genuinely confused when men don't treat them like royalty for simply existing. But here's what they don't understand. Men with actual value don't play these games anymore. A client told me about his date last week. Woman shows up 30 minutes late, no apology, orders the most expensive items on the menu while barely making conversation, then acts shocked when he asks for separate checks. She actually said, "A real man would never make a lady pay." He responded, "A real lady would never assume." She left in a rage, posted about it online. He dodged a bullet and knew it. These high-value men that everyone talks about, they expect accountability. They didn't build their success by tolerating drama, entitlement, or people who bring nothing to the table. They want partners who match their discipline, their emotional maturity, their work ethic. Some woman showing up expecting worship because she's moderately attractive. That's not impressive to someone who's actually built something. The cultural differences in dating expectations are creating hilarious reality checks. American women go to Netherlands expecting men to chase them, buy them drinks, put them on pedestals. Dutch men treat them like equals. Split bills, direct communication, no games. The women are devastated. These men don't know how to treat a woman. No, they just don't subscribe to your particular brand of entitlement. I've watched videos of women complaining about dating in Germany. He told me directly he wasn't interested. He didn't compliment my outfit. He expected me to pay for my own drinks. They're experiencing equality and interpreting it as oppression. These men aren't being rude. They're treating women like adults instead of princesses. The Western dating culture has created unrealistic expectations that don't translate globally. Some women assume every man on earth should act like a desperate American, willing to pay hundreds of dollars just for female attention. Then they travel to Prague or Warsaw and discover that men there expect actual conversation, genuine interest, mutual investment. The shock is palpable. The financial expectations reveal priorities immediately. When someone's biggest complaint about a date is that they had to pay for their own coffee, you know exactly what they were there for. Not connection, not compatibility, not chemistry, just extraction. They're not looking for partners, they're looking for sponsors. A guy I counsel had a woman unmatch him because he suggested coffee for a first date. She said, "I don't do coffee dates, dinner only." He replied, "I don't do dinner with strangers." She called him broke. He owns 3 companies. The entitlement blinds them to the fact that successful men are screening them out, not failing to measure up. The blaming of location instead of self-reflection is comedy gold. Men in Berlin are cold. Men in Tokyo are shy. Men in London are cheap. Never once do they consider that maybe, just maybe, the common denominator in all these failed interactions is them. It's easier to blame an entire city than admit you might be the problem. I saw a video of a woman complaining about dating in Scandinavia. These men expect me to approach them. Yes, because in egalitarian societies, women have agency. They don't buy drinks because they believe in equality. They're not romantic because performative romance died with actual gender equality. She wanted equality's benefits with tradition's perks. Men actively avoid dating women who lead with entitlement. The moment she starts listing demands, checking phone constantly, talking about what she deserves, men with options check out. They've learned that entitlement is a preview of future misery. Better to be alone than with someone who sees you as a utility. The direct communication that some cultures value feels harsh to women raised on participation trophies and constant validation. A German man saying, "I don't see this going anywhere," is being respectful of both their time. But to someone expecting to be pursued despite showing no interest, it feels like aggression. Honesty becomes rudeness when you're used to beautiful lies. The online self-presentation affecting dating outcomes is real. Men see the Instagram model wannabe with 47 bikini photos and know exactly what they're getting. Someone whose entire value system revolves around attention and validation. These women then wonder why they only attract men looking for one thing. You marketed yourself as a product. Don't be surprised when you get treated like one. A friend showed me a woman's dating profile. Bikini photos, party shots, CEO of my own business. It's an MLM. If you can't handle me at my worst, list of height and income requirements. Then she wonders why she only matches with players. You're advertising entitlement and superficiality. Depth isn't shopping in that aisle. The attention-seeking, behavior-fueling dating drama is exhausting. Every bad date becomes a TikTok. Every rejection becomes content. They're not looking for love, they're looking for material. The performance of being wronged becomes more important than actual connection. They'd rather have a bad date that gets views than a good date that's private. These romance myths collapse spectacularly when tested. European men are more romantic. Then they get to Paris and Pierre wants to split the bill. Latin men are passionate. Then Carlos expects them to cook. British men are gentlemen. Then James suggests they take the tube instead of a taxi. Reality doesn't match the fantasy, and they can't handle it. The passport sister phenomenon is particularly amusing. Women who thought they'd have unlimited options overseas discover that men in other countries often prefer their own women. The Brazilian men they fantasized about are dating Brazilian women. The Italian men prefer Italian women. The assumption that foreign men would worship them just for being American or British. Destroyed. I met a woman who moved to Spain expecting to be treated like a queen. Spanish men don't even approach me, because Spanish women are stunning and actually contribute to relationships. They're all mama's boys, because they value family. They expect me to cook, because that's part of their culture. She lasted 6 months before running home. The accountability avoidance leads to predictable frustration. It's never their fault. Never their attitude, their expectations, their behaviour. It's always external. The men, the culture, the city, the apps, the timing, Mercury being in retrograde. This complete inability to self-reflect guarantees they'll repeat the same patterns indefinitely. Modern dating is harder for everyone, but the reasons differ drastically. Men withdraw because they're tired of being treated like ATMs. Women struggle because their expectations don't match reality. Men fear false accusations and gold diggers. Women fear settling for less than the fantasy they've been sold. Everyone's defensive, nobody's trusting. The social media narratives distorting dating standards have created a generation of delusional people. Every woman thinks she deserves a top 1% man. Every influence tells her never to settle, always level up, demand more. But nobody asks what she's bringing to merit these demands. The entitlement gets reinforced daily by other entitled people online. When these entitled women finally meet a real man, someone with actual standards, boundaries and self-respect, the collision is spectacular. He doesn't chase when she plays hard to get. He doesn't beg when she threatens to leave. He doesn't pay when she doesn't contribute. Her entire playbook becomes useless. A client recently dealt with this perfectly. Woman he was dating started making demands. Expensive restaurant, pick her up. She lived an hour away. Buy flowers. He said, "I'm looking for a partner, not a dependent. If that's not what you want, good luck." She backpedaled hard, suddenly interested in getting to know him better. He'd already seen enough. The high-value men these women claim to want are exactly the ones who won't tolerate their behaviour. The CEO isn't impressed by your Instagram following. The entrepreneur doesn't care about your beauty if you lack depth. The athlete isn't interested in someone who brings drama instead of peace. Success brings options, and options mean not settling for entitlement. The reality check when travelling is brutal for some. American woman goes to Switzerland expecting men to fawn over her. Swiss men treat her like anyone else. She's not exotic there. She's not special. She's just another person. And if she's not interesting, kind and contributory, she's ignored. The geographic arbitrage they expected doesn't exist. The financial expectations revealing character happens immediately now. Men have developed tests. Suggest coffee. If she's offended, she's there for resources. Suggest splitting. If she's outraged, she's not about equality. Suggest a free activity. If she declines, she values money over connection. These filters work perfectly to screen out entitlement. A guy I know has a brilliant strategy. First date is always coffee or a walk. If she complains or doesn't show, he knows she wasn't interested in him anyway. If she shows up and engages genuinely, second date is nicer. But that first filter saves him thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours yearly. The blame shifting is Olympic-level gymnastics. Men in Seattle are all tech nerds. Maybe you're targeting the wrong men. Men in Miami just want sex. Maybe you're presenting yourself as a sex object. Men in New York are workaholics. Maybe you're not interesting enough to compete with their careers. The lack of introspection is stunning. When women lead with entitlement, quality men don't just avoid them, they actively warn other men. There are entire group chats where men share profiles and stories of entitled women they've encountered. Watch out for this one. Wanted me to Venmo her for her Uber to the date. The entitlement becomes a scarlet letter in communities of successful men. Direct communication being interpreted as rudeness shows how coddled some people have become. A man saying, "I'm not feeling a connection," is being respectful. But to someone raised on "you're perfect just as you are" and participation trophies, honesty feels like violence. They'd rather be ghosted than told the truth. A woman posted about her date in Amsterdam. The guy told her directly he wasn't attracted to her after meeting in person. She called it emotional violence. No, it's called honesty. Would she prefer he pretend interest, waste her time, maybe sleep with her under false pretenses? The alternative to direct communication is manipulation, but somehow that's preferable. The online self-presentation disaster is self-inflicted. They post thirst traps, then wonder why they attract thirsty men. They advertise materialism, then wonder why they attract users. They display entitlement, then wonder why they attract no one worthwhile. You get the energy you put out, and the energy they're putting out is repelling quality. The attention-seeking creating dating drama becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. They go on dates looking for content rather than connection. Every interaction is filtered through, how will this story play online? They're not present in the moment because they're already crafting the narrative. Then they wonder why the dates feel hollow. The romance myths versus reality gap is crushing some women. They really believed French men would wine and dine them endlessly. They genuinely thought Italian men would worship them. They actually expected British men to be Hugh Grant. When reality is just normal men with different accents, the disappointment is palpable. The Passport's sister reality check is particularly satisfying to watch. Women who thought foreign men would be easier, more romantic, more generous, discover that quality men everywhere have standards. That Spanish architect isn't impressed by your American passport. That Swedish engineer doesn't care that you're exotic. Value is universal, and if you don't have it, geography won't help. A woman I met travelled to Brazil expecting to be treated like a goddess. Brazilian women are stunning, feminine, and actually pleasant to be around. She couldn't compete. She blamed Brazilian men for having unrealistic beauty standards, while missing the irony completely. The entitlement couldn't compute that she wasn't competitive in that market. The accountability avoidance creates a doom loop. Can't get dates? Men are intimidated. Get dates but no second dates. Men can't handle strong women. Get relationships but they end. Men are commitment phobic. At no point does self-reflection enter the equation. At no point do they ask, what could I do differently? Modern dating is revealing harsh truths. The men women want don't need them. High-value men have options globally now. They can date women who are feminine, contributing, and pleasant. Why would they choose someone entitled, demanding, and difficult? The market has spoken, but some refuse to listen. The social media distortion has convinced average women they deserve exceptional men while bringing nothing exceptional themselves. They see other women posting about their amazing boyfriends and think they deserve the same. They don't see the work, the value, the reciprocity behind those relationships. They just see the results and feel entitled to them. When a real man with boundaries shows up, the entitled woman's entire strategy fails. Withholding sex doesn't work. He has options. Threatening to leave doesn't work. He'll hold the door. Making demands doesn't work. He'll wish her luck elsewhere. She has no leverage because he doesn't need what she's selling. A successful friend had a woman try to train him on their third date. Told him he should have picked her up, should have chosen a better restaurant, should have brought flowers. He said, "Sounds like you're looking for a different guy. Good luck finding him." Her shock was genuine. No man had ever refused to be trained before. The high-value men's expectations are simple, but non-negotiable. Be pleasant, be contributing, be feminine, be supportive, have something to offer beyond your looks. The bar isn't that high, but entitlement makes it impossible to clear. They'd rather be alone than deal with someone who sees them as a success object. The cultural reality checks are educational for everyone watching. That woman who went to Germany expecting princess treatment got equality instead. That woman who went to Japan expecting to be worshipped discovered Japanese men prefer Japanese women. These stories are teaching moments for anyone paying attention. The financial filtering is becoming more sophisticated. Men now watch how women react to normal dates before investing in expensive ones. They observe attitude about money before revealing wealth. They test for gold digging before showing gold. The entitled ones reveal themselves quickly and get filtered out. The blame shifting reaches absurd levels. Men in Portland are too passive. Men in Dubai are too materialistic. Men in Moscow are too traditional. Never, I might be approaching this wrong. Or, maybe my expectations need adjustment. The entire world is wrong, but they're perfect. When entitlement meets accountability, entitlement loses every time. A real man doesn't need validation from women. He doesn't fear being alone. He doesn't compromise his standards for sex. He's built his life to be complete without a relationship, so he only accepts additions that improve it. The direct communication revolution is coming. More men are being honest up front. I don't do dinner on first dates. I expect 50-50 until we're committed. I'm screening for wife material, not dating for fun. This clarity terrifies entitled women who rely on ambiguity to extract value. The online presentation backfire is predictable. Show yourself as high maintenance, attract men looking for short-term fun. Display materialism, attract users and manipulators. Advertise entitlement, attract no one worthwhile. The algorithm of attraction is undefeated. The attention-seeking behavior is ruining their own chances. Men see the TikToks complaining about dates. They see the Instagram stories mocking ex-boyfriends. They know dating her means becoming content. Quality men want partners, not social media personalities using relationships as material. The romance myths are being destroyed by reality daily. Every woman who thought geography would change their dating life discovers men are men everywhere. Standards exist globally. Value is required universally. Entitlement is unattractive internationally. The passport sister delusion is creating hilarious content. Women posting about how European men are broke because they won't pay for everything. How Asian men are misogynistic because they expect traditional values. How Latin men are players because they have options. The common denominator never clicking. The accountability moment, when it comes, is transformative. Some women eventually realize they're the problem and change. They become pleasant, contributing, supportive partners. They find good relationships. But most double down, join men are trash groups, and spend their prime years in bitter denial. The modern dating market is efficient at sorting. Entitled women get filtered out by quality men. Quality women get noticed and claimed quickly. The market clears at the correct prices. Everyone ends up where they belong based on what they bring to the table. The social media echo chambers are preventing growth. Instead of learning from rejection, they get validated by other rejected women. Instead of improving, they get told they're perfect. Instead of accountability, they get excuses. The support group becomes an anchor, keeping them in failure. Here's what really happens when these entitled women face rejection from a real man. They experience cognitive dissonance so severe it breaks their worldview. They've been told their whole lives that they're the prize, that men should be grateful for their attention, that their presence alone is valuable. When a man demonstrates through actions that none of this is true, they can't process it. The brain literally cannot reconcile the reality with the programming. Watch this happen at a networking event. Woman approaches successful entrepreneur, starts with demands disguised as standards. I only date men who... He cuts her off. I'm not interested. She literally couldn't speak for 10 seconds. Her brain was buffering, trying to compute how her prize status was rejected, without even a full pitch. She tried again. He walked away. She spent the rest of the night telling people he must be gay. The desperation hiding behind entitlement becomes visible when real men don't play along. Suddenly, the I don't need a man becomes why won't he text back? The men are trash becomes what's wrong with me? The I deserve the best becomes I'll take anything. But by then, the quality men have already moved on to women who didn't need this wake-up call. The cultural programming Western women receive is setting them up for failure globally. They're taught that female empowerment means making demands without offering value. Then they travel to cultures where women are still feminine, contributing, and pleasant. The contrast is devastating. They realize they're not competing against local men's standards. They're competing against local women who are simply better partners. A buddy who works internationally told me about American women at his company's Dubai office. They arrived expecting to be treated like queens in the Middle East. Instead, local women who are educated, beautiful, wealthy, and traditional made them invisible. The entitlement couldn't process that having a Western passport and attitude was actually a disadvantage, not an asset. The social media validation machine has created monsters who can't handle reality. Every selfie gets hundreds of likes from thirsty men online. Every complaint gets validated by other bitter women. Every standard gets applauded no matter how unrealistic. Then they meet a man who doesn't follow the script, who doesn't validate their delusion, and they short-circuit. The financial entitlement specifically is reaching comical proportions. Women who make $40,000 expecting men who make $400,000. Women with student debt expecting men with investment portfolios. Women who can't manage their own finances expecting men to finance their lifestyle. The math doesn't work, but entitlement doesn't do math. When a real man sets boundaries, entitled women often try manipulation tactics that would work on weaker men. The tears, the anger, the guilt trips, the threats, the sudden sweetness, the promised sexual rewards. But real men have seen it all before. They recognize manipulation because they've studied it, experienced it, overcome it. These tactics just confirm they made the right choice walking away. The long-term consequences for entitled women are brutal. They spend their 20s rejecting good men for not meeting impossible standards, their 30s desperately lowering standards but still maintaining entitlement, their 40s wondering where all the good men went, their 50s writing articles about how happy they are alone. The entitlement ages into regret, but the ego won't allow admission. When a real man says no to an entitled woman, he's doing everyone a favour. He's teaching her that actions have consequences. He's showing other men it's okay to have standards. He's demonstrating that male validation isn't guaranteed. These lessons, though painful, are necessary. The future belongs to people who understand value exchange. Relationships are trades: time, attention, resources, support, affection. Both parties need to bring something worthwhile. Entitlement is bringing nothing while expecting everything. The market is correcting this imbalance harshly. The men who refuse to tolerate entitlement are heroes. They're resetting expectations. They're establishing standards. They're showing that masculine frame isn't toxic. It's necessary. Every time they walk away from entitlement, they make the dating market slightly more rational. The entitlement bubble is bursting. Men are waking up to their value. They're realizing they don't need to pay for attention. They don't need to tolerate disrespect. They don't need to subsidize someone else's lifestyle. The simps are becoming men, and entitled women don't know how to handle it. The geographic arbitrage that some women expected is reversing. Quality men can now easily date internationally. They can find feminine, pleasant, contributing women anywhere. The entitled Western woman isn't just competing locally anymore. She's competing globally, and she's losing. The financial reality is harsh but necessary. If your dating value is tied to someone else's wallet, you're not dating. You're engaging in a form of soft prostitution. Real relationships require real value exchange beyond money for beauty. This truth is destroying entitlement wherever it spreads. The blame will continue, but reality won't care. They'll blame men, culture, society, apps, timing, astrology. But the market will continue to reward value and punish entitlement. Those who adapt will succeed. Those who don't will become cautionary tales. I want to hear from you guys. What's the most entitled behaviour you've encountered? How did you handle it? What happened when you said no to unreasonable demands? Share your stories in the comments. Let's normalise having standards and expecting actual partnership. The entitlement era is ending, and it's about time.